guys, today we're taking a look at the new Patrick Ta palette, Major Dimensions 3. Looks like this, and this is what it looks like inside. Now the Major Dimensions 2 is rose toned. I did buy that, I did try it, I did review it. I'll post that review right up here. I found that it did not pull rose on me, but it was warm. Kind of like Charlotte Tilbury's pinks go warm on me. I do have the Major Dimensions 1 though. So we're just going to kind of take a look at these and see what's going on. A little bit of backstory, if you haven't been here for a long time. I bought this when it first came out, and I really did like it, but a couple of things. One, all of these are shimmers or glitters or satins or metallics, and I don't need that much, you know. I liked this going on here, but just a couple of these and I would have been fine. And I feel like he was listening, but instead of giving us just a couple, it's all matte. All matte. Did some blacks, which I don't really like black in a palette. I think you really have to be quite skilled to know how to use black well. But I think the idea in this palette is more skin tones. Everybody should find something. But it begs the question, just because I can find a couple of shades that'll work for me, does that warrant having a palette this big? I see this a lot now where Desnessa Myrick just came out with a palette, and I thought, well, that's great for a makeup artist because you could work on all these different skin tones, but I'm just one skin tone, so most of these colors I'm not going to use. And I do wonder, is that the case with this palette? These colors are cooler, and these are slightly warm, and frankly, very similar to this one. I think there are several shades that are very, very close, and I think everybody who has the first one wants to know. I'm just trying to find an area where you're not getting too much reflection over here. Do I need both? I find these three shades are very similar to these three shades, but there's the cools up here, and this one doesn't have any cools. So I'm going to put this away. I will say that it's super, super, super similar. And the palettes are also $70. $70 for a neutral palette, that's kind of hard to swallow. But the truth is, I bought that palette and I thought, I can't do $70 on this palette, that's crazy. And I returned it, but I kept on thinking about it. And that, I cannot think of any time where I kept on thinking about something that I returned or didn't buy. I really wish I had that palette. So I did buy it again, but it arrived broken. I got it during the sale, and when I went to return it, they didn't have any in the store, and they didn't have any online. So the next Sephora sale, I got one, and it is a very useful, everyday kind of palette. I will give it that. And if you have one, and you haven't used it in a while, pull it out. But what we're going to do is 2 looks with this palette, one on each eye. And I have my base on. I'm wearing my Givenchy Prism Libre. And then I actually did prime my lids. I'm wearing the Backstage Concealer. And I decided to put a little on my cheeks because of my redness, and then I just brought it up under my eyes. Under the eyes, if you are older, a little much. But if you put it down here and then you just kind of bring it up, not bad, not bad. I'm also going to bring in this mirror here and really, really try to get a beautiful blend. Every time I use this mirror, I think, I wish I had tweezers in here. One of the many things that I'm thinking when I look in this mirror. This has got to be a 10X. So I think I'm going to start with a cool, and I'll go in with the lightest color first. I don't think this white, you know what, I'll go in with the white, whatever. This is either the Refer 33 brush, and I'm going to go in with the white. This is hard for me when my mirror's not here because I can't tell. I use this mirror for reference to see if you can see what I think you can see. Oh, this is pigmented, but I should have knocked this off because it's all over my face too. So pigmented for a light color, you don't see that too often, and that's a good thing. I'm going to go all over with this shade right here. So for me, this is a light color, and yet it's enough if I just want to give myself a little bit of something right here to help me look a little less hooded. This color could be it. Just like the Natasha Denona palette, there's a color in that that I've been using every single day. And now I'm going to go in with this shade right here. Yesterday I washed my hair and I put it in braids when it was still wet. I usually let it dry a little bit. It's been more than 24 hours. I think it's still wet. So we're going to take it on at the end to see. Now, one of the reasons I like to use this mirror is I can kind of pull. And now I'm going to get everything a little bit taut, but it blends out beautifully. It's a good formula, so that's not a concern. And give myself a real crease. We'll see what it looks like when the eyes open. There you go. I could pull out a little bit if I wanted and really give myself a cat eye look, but we're just going to see what these are like and what the colors are like, and if I really need. Blend it out super nicely. I just want it to be a little more faded, a little less obvious. Now I'm going to try to deepen up. Again, if you're not hooded, this kind of idea of deepening up at the end is a lot easier. In fact, you can deepen up here and deepen up here and put something bright right here. On me, but we're going to do it anyway. The shade right here. I don't want this all over the place, so I'm using a small brush and I'm just patting. And it's actually, with this application, it's getting into my crepey bits, so I don't need to pull out the eye and make it a little more taut. I'm going to bring it a little bit up, but not too much. And just very softly back and forth. And then fading out the edge. Okay, and now looking in this mirror, I feel like I want to fade this quite a bit. So I'm just going to continue to dab. This for me might be a little bit more evening than daily, but it's not aggressive. It's not aggressively dark. The black shade right here, I'm not going to do that. And these are the cream shades, which are pretty magical. I forgot about them. I think I would have preferred to start with them, but let's just dip into that black in the same row with this small Hakuhodo brush, and we'll do some lining. And for this, I think I am going to make the eye a little taut. This will, on me, totally transfer up here unless I set it with powder. Super pigmented. Okay. I'm not going to open my eye all the way because I definitely need to set this. I don't think I have the perfect brush for this. Well, I do, I just don't know where it is. This is the Rever 03, and I think I would prefer to go in with the bigger Rever, but I'm not sure where it is. And now I'm going to go in with the black powder shadow and hope for the best. But even black powder will transfer up here, so this is really kind of destined for issues. I'm just going to put this paper towel here in case. You know what? I need to do brows and mascara, and I will after I finish this, but I like this. It's not too much. It is a little bit more of an evening look for me, but I feel that it's more of a sophisticated evening look. I might blend a little bit higher for an evening with this color, which is probably the third color in. I'm just going to tap into that a little bit more. And this is a Ray Morris brush. It's like a candlestick, so it's perfect for putting right through here. So I put my color right there, and then the shorter bristles work to blend. And now I'm pressing harder in that area so the bristles can do the work for me. And pull up just a teeny bit towards the tail. And now I think it's a really nice, sophisticated evening look. But as we went from one shade to the other, I think you got a good idea of how you can use this for an everyday look. Let's do the other side. So I did accidentally do this shade on both eyes. I'm just going to go over it with this one. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. And I did wipe off all my brushes. I remember to knock off with this one because it kind of got all over the place. And this is more flesh toned and a little bit warmer. And I'm going to do the same thing, you guys. Now I'm going to go in with the Ray Morris, which is the brush I used for the second color, and put this all over the lid. And then I'll do this to deepen up, and then I'll do this, and it'll be kind of like paint by numbers. I think actually one really cool thing about this palette is super good for beginners. Just start at the light and continue through the dark. It's very light, almost imperceivable on me. Now the third color in, I'm using two mirrors. This mirror is so big, it's a little hard, but I felt like I might need to pull my skin taut. I'm actually finding that I am not needing to. In fact, I think I'm going to put this back. Again, this is something, just a little mascara, do some brows, and this is an everyday kind of look. It's a little bit warmer, a little bit less harsh on my skin tone. I mean, this is fully done, but if you remember what it looked like when I just had the first two shades, I think they would be comparable, just a little bit warmer. And now I'm going to do this shade. And remember, this is the shade I deepened up with. This shade is not as deep as that. So I would say for paler skin tones, this part is probably better. But keep in mind, in that cool zone, the color that I used for this, if that's a little too much for you, you just dip in that, and then you dip in the white or the cream, the first color on each row. I'm not going to use the next color because that is quite a bit more red to it, but I may. Okay, I wiped off the brush and I am going to go in with this darkest one in the powder. In the cool zone, I use that just simply to set that cream. I did wipe my brush off so there's not too much on because I didn't want to have that fall on my face. Better to dip in than to have to worry about fallout. Now I'm just taking my Hakuhodo and softening up the edge. I knew it would happen. Knew it would happen. I'm not saying that there's not use for the creams. There is, but if you're hooded, it's going to transfer. You know, if I did this for 5 minutes, it would set. I think I remember in the first palette it does eventually set. Now, interestingly enough, for me anyway, because of my hood, it's transferring to an ideal position. Do you know what I mean? This could be how you get the ideal socket, is just put on a cream liner and open your eyes and wait for it to transfer. But now I kind of want to work on this a little bit so it doesn't look so off. You know, I do need to run an errand, and I don't mind doing two different eyes. Some people are colorblind, they won't even notice, but I think they will notice that I have lined on one and not on the other. So same brush, I did wipe it off, but there might be a little black in there. And I'm just going to do the same thing with the liner on this side. Yeah, this color is far more workable for someone with my skin tone and my eye shape. and the size of my eyes. I feel that the darker I go, the smaller my eyes look. So I'm super comfortable with this. And then I'm going to go back on with the Refer brush and that dark powder to go over it. So this is the darkest shade that I already did. I think I have less liner on this side than I do on this side. So this may not transfer as much. So let's just do a side by side without mascara, I definitely need to do a little waterline and my brows, but this side, I think this is actually totally doable for a daily basis. And this side, which some people will be comfortable doing this for a daily basis, for me, this is for evening. So let me finish up and then we'll come back, I'll bring my hair down and I'll talk about my conclusions. Alright you guys, I'm going to list everything that I have down, my bronzer, my blush, my lip, my mascara. On this side is Charlotte Tilbury in the Dream Pop, or whatever it's called, the brown one, and the Westman Atelier, which very similar if you don't want to spend that much money, the Ilia Fullest, and I will link all of that below. But let's take a look again from side to side. And I'm just going to use the box that it came in instead of the palette. So this is the neutral side. And while I did the very same application and used the darkest colors, I still feel like this is a great everyday look. I think you could go in with the creams to make it darker, to make a smoky brown eye for evening. And while I was finishing up, I noticed that it did. The cream, even though I had less of it on, I thought it may not transfer up here. It did. But it gives a beautiful shape, like I said, so I don't mind. Now this one, it's interesting. This eye to me looks much bigger, and I'm sure it's because I brought it up higher and it's more of an evening look. I suppose I could do that with this eye, but it really doesn't bother me. You know, if you want a bigger eye during the day, then go a little bit higher with your darker color, because I really achieved that with this. And I think it actually wasn't achieved until the transfer. So let's take a look at this one by itself, and you can see, maybe you don't see, maybe it's my imagination. Anything is possible. Evening with the cool colors, but the cool can also go for day, and I feel like this is day. I went for day, but just the first two shades would have been enough to get me out the door to run a couple of errands. And keeping it brown with that mascara. So the formula, as you saw, was a little bit powdery. I was not knocking off because I usually do, but I think my setup today is a little precarious on my table because I have this mirror, but I needed this mirror, and I just wasn't doing the tap off. You must tap off, it's a little powdery and you will get fall down. It picks up very well. It blends like a dream. You saw how easy it was for me to blend all of these colors. Yes, I spent some time, but to me, that's how you get a really good eye look, is by spending some time blending it. And do I think it's useful? I gotta tell you something. I bought this fully understanding there's a good chance I was gonna return it, because I do feel that these shades on the bottom are very, very similar. Not exact, but very similar to Major Dimensions 1. But I like this so much that I'm willing to keep this. And I'll tell you what else. If you don't have Major Dimensions 1, skip it and get this. You probably have several palettes where you can do the shimmers and all that kind of stuff. Go to those for the shimmers and get 2 colorways with this one. I'm impressed. I know it's expensive. I'd much rather spend that money on a Natasha Denona palette, because I think her formulas are amazing, and she really goes there when it comes to color. And I'm using this color every day. I gotta get out. That's the color that I put on. And this is less expensive. But I think if you're somebody who kind of wants to do the same thing all the time, then it's worth it to spend $70 on this. And tell you what else. If you were going out of town for a week and you are somebody who does wear makeup every day like me, and you know you need to do something with your eyes because you're hooded or you have small eyes or for whatever reason, this is great. It'll take you day to night. It really, really will. And I think that's very interesting. You know, a week, 2 weeks, whatever, you could probably get every box ticked with this particular palette. So I'm impressed, you guys. You know me, I'm kind of critical. I'm a little bit of a Virgo. And I'm keeping her. And that is going to wrap up today's video, you guys. Thanks so much for spending time with me. I hope it was helpful, and I hope you come back again. Until we meet again, be safe, be smart, and I'm wishing you good health.